No more water in the jug, but I don't need it right now. That's just what I need. The waterfall and I have been neighbours for so long that I don't really hear it anymore. Right then, fresh water for the bird bath. If I do succeed in escaping, it'll be a while before Cheap is able to bathe in his basin again. Do I have the right to drag him into this? He should really have the choice of returning as soon as I escape. A lovely spot, so long as the bees who have built their hive directly above the bench don't disturb you. I don't have any time to rest, and that's good. At last I've got something to do again. You're having a good time, I see.
What can I do for you?
Tell me, you know a bit about nature, don't you? How does this childbearing stuff work exactly?
Oh, don't know. Ask myself the same question. The bees pollinate the flower seeds are carried away by the wind and new plants grow. Very simple and easy, that. But elves, humans and dwarves don't produce nectar. What have you got to offer the bees?
Yeah, and also our children don't grow in the earth, they grow in us.
Oh, I know. Isn't it absurd?
If I happen to need a pot of gold and you happen to have one, would you be happy to lend it to me?
Or if I be the Sultan of the Three Deserts and you had juicy grapes, would you feed me?
Okay, seriously, do you have a pot of gold?
Just like you have grapes and be the Sultan.
Do you know how to cast a spell over a magic mirror?
Do I look like a magician or priest?
Perhaps you saw Mother doing it sometime.
Many times. She tips water from 3 different vessels into the bowl and then mumbles a bit to herself. Some kind of elf priestess magic nonsense. I don't know nothing about that.
Me neither. Arbor, I'm going to have to leave the elf burrow for a few days.
Your mother giving you permission?
Not as such.
She's not going to like that. But one has to do what one has to do. I wish you a good journey.
Oh, thank you, Arbor. And don't tell anyone I told you.
I wouldn't dream of it. Just don't you go staying away too long now. You know time out there runs much quicker than here in the woodland realm.
Of course. In the outside world, we elves age like humans. That's why most elves avoid it like the plague.
Quite right.
I have to get on. Don't work too hard.
That I won't.
I wonder if trees regard a carpenter as the bogeyman. It's not nice, but I'll have to find out. One can easily fell a tree with the help of an axe and wedges. In my experience, nothing beats a sharp saw, guided by two men. Slish, slash! The teeth of the saw bite into the wood, and in a few minutes, even the largest tree tumbles to the ground. After this, the smaller branches and the bark are removed from the trunk using hatchets. Once the tree is sawn into several pieces, it's ready to be transported away. Wow, I feel a bit dirty. It'll be all right. You'll see. The only thing I can say in my defence is that is what a weeping willow is meant to look like. Hey, there's a rainbow. Since the willow's branches are hanging down for some inexplicable reason, the sun is able to shine directly onto the waterfall again and is now producing a pretty rainbow over the garden. Others will judge whether it was worth traumatising the willow for this, but the rainbow certainly adds a certain je ne sais quoi. Since Nate left without saying so much as a word, Mother seized the opportunity to marry me off to a proper elf prince. So far I've managed to frighten off every candidate successfully, but she's starting to lose her patience. Nate once said that rainbows never touch the earth. Wilbur wouldn't believe him. Let's see who was right. Nate once said that Let's see. A pot of gold, and no grumpy leprechaun protecting it. What a stroke of luck. You're having a good time, I see.
What can I do for 'ee?
I don't need your spade anymore. I've put it over there.
Ah, that's great. And you've dug a lovely hole too, right in the middle of my lawn.
Ah, sorry about that.
Oh, what the heck. I'll plant it with something.
I have to get on. Don't work too hard.
That I won't.
Why not? Perhaps I'm in luck. It works. One of the symbols is glowing. An all-knowing mirror. In the current situation, that would be more than useful. The only question is how to cast a spell over the mirror. I've never done that before. That looks promising. The worms are happy and fat. The earth in the bonsai pot seems to have done them good. A pot of gold will be accepted anywhere as payment. It's a bit less than a pile of filthy lucre, but a bit more than a heap of dough. That leads up to the throne room. Mother will be conducting the affairs of state with an iron will, whilst Pa leans against the tree of life, probably sleeping. Nothing for it. Have to talk to Pa. I'd better take the hat off. No need to complicate matters further.
Ivo, I thought that we'd agreed that you would stay in your room.
I'm no longer a little girl who can be shut up in her room.
No? How did you get out of your room? Did you trick Cheep Cheep and then climb over the balcony? That sounds very grown up.
I just left my room to do a bit of training.
Mm-hmm.
You said yourself I've put on a few pounds, and I'm not going to get rid of them by lying around on my bed all day.
Where does this sudden insight come from?
I can't keep asking myself what to do with my life. Perhaps marriage isn't such a bad idea.
It most certainly isn't. And if you train diligently, I'm sure Prince Lalilos will like you a lot.
Of course, fine.
I would love to help you, but I'm most dreadfully busy. A kind of epidemic seems to have broken out in Seastone.
An epidemic in Seastone?
It's strange. We're getting reports from the whole of the Middle Kingdom. Objects and beings have been changed.
What do you mean?
The situation isn't clear. It appears as if some kind of terrible power is gradually moving through the whole land, changing it. Do you remember the story of the Nothing? A big blackness that gradually swallowed a fairy kingdom bit by bit.
Of course.
This time it is much worse. It is pink.
An epidemic in Seastone. Is it wise for me and it to go there? On the other hand, Wilbur and the Archmajor in Seastone. Perhaps I can help them to fight the epidemic in exchange for them helping me with my problem. This symbol's on the bottom of the mirror bowl in the garden. No idea what it means. That's Mother's area of expertise. This symbol's on the bottom of... This symbol's on the bottom of... Only priestesses are allowed to get water from the well. Up to now, my mother hasn't tried to make me into a priestess. If I'm lucky, she never will. I can blame Mother for a lot of things, but not laziness. On the contrary, she does the same work as 3 people put together, because she doesn't trust anyone to do it as well. Mother?
Yes, Ivadora.
Those symbols on the columns, what do they mean?
First your insights concerning your wedding, and now an interest in the spiritual. You do surprise me. The 3 symbols depict the 3 different forms that water takes. They are important in many rituals. Water that falls from the sky. Water that springs from the earth. And water that is bathed by moonlight.
Oh. What's all this different forms of water all about then?
Not all water is the same. It changes. If it bubbles out of a spring, then it is spring water. Then it turns into stream water, perhaps into river water, and then sometimes later into sea water. The voice of water changes, its soul.
And if different forms of water are mixed together?
Then you can create water with powerful magical properties. But it's not as easy as you might imagine. Water is constantly changing its form. Rain is water from the sky, but as soon as it lands in a puddle, then it becomes common puddle water.
Do you really think that I look fat?
You aren't really fat, my darling, but you aren't perfect either.
Do I have to be perfect?
No one is perfect, but that doesn't stop us striving for it. Once you are happy with yourself, then you become overindulgent. Dissatisfaction can take you far, my darling.
Why do you want me to marry this particular prince?
Because I think that will be best for you.
And if I don't like him?
Then you will learn to love him.
Why can't I fall in love first and then marry?
And what happens if you don't fall in love? You won't ever marry then? Don't be childish, Ivadora.
Do you know what can be done to fight the epidemic in Seastone?
Done? Nothing, my darling. It's a matter for humans. We will only observe.
How hard would it be for us to actually help solve a problem for once, instead of waiting for it to solve itself?
If Alistair needs my advice, he can ask me, and up to now he has not done that.
But...
I'm not going to interfere.
That stuff in the moonwell, that's water bathed by moonlight, isn't it?
Of course it is, my darling.
Could I take some of it?
It is holy water. We only use it for special occasions. What do you need it for?
I need it for a potion. It's one of the most important ingredients.
Really? What sort of potion?
Well, the moon water's a particularly pure and clean water. I thought that it could form the basis of a beauty potion.
It is true that this water is purported to have healing powers.
I didn't want to trouble you with this, but then I thought, if I'm meant to be looking my best for the prince, then such a potion wouldn't do any harm.
Oh, absolutely. Do you have a vessel? May the Moonwell water give you the help you need to become more beautiful, just as it has always helped me.
See you later, Mother.
Don't pull a face like a wilted willow, Ivo. Smile.
Pa doesn't like getting up early. He always says he needs lots of sleep, but he's never said why. Pa doesn't like... Hey, Pa, the day started ages ago.
What? Oh, Ivo, how's my favourite daughter?
I'm your only daughter.
Oh, that I had 100. You are and will remain something very special. The other 99 will be as well, though.
Pa, you're nuts. Isn't it a wonderful day today? Again.
Just as the caterpillars cough in the morning dew. Yet, something seems to be troubling you.
She locked me up like a small child.
Have you argued again?
She started it.
She loves you.
And she only wants the best for me. How can it be best for me if she constantly criticises me and forces me to do things that I don't want to do?
She believes that this will help prepare you for the life that awaits you.
I'd just like to decide for myself.
I know. Your mother just doesn't understand that, because she never had that choice.
Mother wants me to marry this Prince Lalilos.
didn't hear about that.
Is that your wish too?
All I wish for is for you to be happy.
Aha, so I'm not going to marry him.
Unfortunately, not all wishes are granted.
Oh,
You are an elf princess. You will need to marry sooner or later. It's just when and who. I'd rather just leave that to Mother Nature.
I wish you could convince Mother of that.
I fear her faith in your taste of men has been shaken a little since... Well, you know. She wants to prevent your heart being broken again. That's why she is choosing someone that she thinks is right for you.
Pa, would you have used the artifact of divine fate, or would you have hidden it like we did?
I think that too much power can corrupt any one of us.
But you have great powers, and you've never used them for evil.
I could have cured diseased woodlands with the artifact, cleaned rivers in the air. And then what? Then I might have chased away the lumberjacks and destroyed the factories of the dwarves.
But I could have helped a lot of humans.
Things take time, Ivo. If you force change before its time has come, then it won't last.
Doesn't Mother's way of doing things drive you a bit mad?
Naturally.
Then why don't you tell her?
Does the gnu talk of spring when the shadows are tickling the squirrel? I love her. It's just a phase. She'll change. And if she doesn't change, then I will not love her any less. I love you both as you are, warts and all.
I need to tell you something, Father, but I'm not sure how.
You shouldn't worry too much. It's not good for the baby.
You know.
Has a zebra got stripes?
How can it have happened? Why?
I don't know. Is that important?
It is. I want to know what's happened to me.
Then look for the answers, my little bud.
How can you be so calm about it?
Because I know that everything will be fine in the end.
And if it isn't fine?
Then it is not the end.
If you don't know what the pregnancy's all about, then I'll have to travel to Seastone and ask the Archmage.
The fact that I don't know means that you did not get pregnant by natural means. And if something does not conform to the laws of nature, then it must be magic. No one knows more about these things than Alistair.
We agree then.
Like snails munching cabbage. Only your mother isn't going to permit it.
I know, but I'll work on that. Hypothetically, if Cheep Cheep had to transport something heavy through the air, how could I help him do it?
You could ask me to give him the necessary strength, which you have just done, have you not?
Really?
Of course, but the effect would not last long enough to transport you to, let's say, Seastone.
He doesn't need to do that. It's just a short distance.
All right, bring me some sunflower seeds.
What exactly do you want to do with the sunflower seeds?
You'll see. It will make Cheep Cheep strong enough to carry even a heavy load for a short while.
I have a few sunflower seeds. Here.
Good. Keep still.
That's it?
Just give Cheep Cheep these seeds to eat shortly before he starts on his journey.
Thanks. Whatever you did to those sunflower seeds looked like magic to me.
Oh no, it was the opposite of magic. Nature, life, pure life.
And what exactly do you mean by that?
Listen to the wind in the willows and the mole and the toad. They know the answer.
Enlighten me, Father.
The moth and the dandelion, dancing the tango and farting uncontrollably, are confusing to those weak in the head.
I'll need to have a think about that. Enlighten me, Father.
Old people with sunburn, laughing madly and turning quickly in circles, are confusing to those weak in the head.
I'll need to have a think about that. Enlighten me, Father.
Ghosts and demons, dancing the tango and farting uncontrollably, are amongst the greatest wonders of the world.
Understood. Enlighten me, Father.
Ghosts and demons, denied by those who are unwary, they may be clever, but they are not wise.
I'll need to have a think about that. Enlighten me, Father.
Evil-smelling murlocs, deep in prayer, are a wonderful sight.
I'll need to have a think about that. Enlighten me, Father.
Evil-smelling murlocs, high on the rooftop of the world, anger the humorless gods.
That is interesting. I've got quite a lot to think about.
Goodbye, little daughter.
See you later, Father. Mother?
Yes, Ivadora.
When you married Father, how long had you known each other?
Just a few days. I fell in love with him instantly. He was the wisest and most handsome elf that I had ever met.
And if you hadn't loved him, or if perhaps you hadn't even liked him?
Then I would have married him anyway. It is the duty of the princess to secure royal succession.
Whether she wants it or not?
You didn't want to go to school either. Today you can play music, paint, speak a dozen different languages and have realized what a gift education is. Please, just trust me. Sometimes only parents know what's best.
See you later, Mother.
Don't pull a face like a wilted willow, Ivo. Smile.
Water from the moonwell. Right, now water that has been bathed in moonshine. That must mean the water that's come from the moonwell. Aha! That's got the second symbol to glow. You're having a good time, I see.
What can I do for 'ee?
I need a special sort of water arbor. Can you help me?
A special sort of water? Now who's been dreaming that stuff up then?
Arbor, please help. I need water that spills out of the ground.
There, the waterfall. As much water as you want.
Oh, it's not that simple. That water's changed. I need water directly out of the earth.
You elves always like to make things complicated, don't you? You got a container? There you go. And don't start telling me that this is some kind of snot water or the like. This be tip-top quality groundwater.
Should work. Thank you. I have to get on. Don't work too hard.
That I won't.
The sunflower seeds feel warm and they're vibrating slightly. As if they were brimming with energy, just waiting to be released. Water spilled from the earth and channeled through the nose of Arbor. Gross. Let's hope that Arbor's donation of water that spills from the earth will work. It hasn't really spilled from the earth, but it is groundwater and it's never seen the sun. Now all the symbols are glowing. Hello? Are you there?
I'm always there.
I cast a spell over you single-handedly with no help.
You had help, you just didn't realise it.
No, I did it by myself.
I'm the all-knowing seer. I'm telling you, you are wrong.
Are you really all-knowing?
No, but it sounds better than I am the seer who saw more than any other being in the world and yet didn't see all.
I did summon you, but I don't really know anything about you. Do you live in the water, or are you the water?
No, the water is just a reflective surface. I live on the other side of the mirrors. I see what happens in front of mirrors. To you, they are simple reflections. To me, they are the window through which I view your world.
Okay. So you live on the other side of all mirrors. Does that include the one in my bedroom?
I can look through any reflective surface. I see all.
You do close your eyes, when it's the decent thing to do, right?
I see all.
Yes, understood. But if someone's undressing in front of their mirror or doing embarrassing things that no one else should see, you do look away, right?
I can see into the furthest reaches of the world. I see the good and the bad, the beautiful and the abominable.
You saw me giving an imaginary harp concert in front of my mirror.
I count that amongst the abominable.
And Mother and others summon you to ask your advice.
I wouldn't exactly describe it as asking. They know how to reach me via one of the mirrors. They want me to give them information, and if I don't answer, they just stand there and stare at me.
So you help them.
That is the question, is it not? Do I have an interest in supporting either one or the other side, or would I rather watch a catastrophe unfold?
So you'd pour oil onto the fire just because you want to watch the flames?
I could, but mostly I restrict myself to watching. I love to see how things develop. I can't abide when things come to a standstill. That's when I'm always tempted to give someone a shove in the right direction.
There's talk of an epidemic in Seastone which is spreading. Do you know anything about it?
It is not an epidemic.
Well, what is it then?
It's something that you get involved with.
Can you see into the future?
Stories repeat themselves. Other places, other participants, but the course remains the same. Good fights evil.
Why am I pregnant?
You are pregnant?
Should you not know that? You being the nearly all-knowing oracle.
I didn't see that. When did you get pregnant?
I'm asking you.
Stupid romance. A woodland glade, a bed in the cornfield, not a mirror in sight. Couldn't you and Nate have done that somewhere else?
Done what?
Oh, yes. Nothing at all, Princess.
I need today's password for the Woodland Realm Border Watch. Do you know it?
Of course. Your mother told the commander of the guards when she was standing next to the mirror surface of the moon well.
Can I have it?
Absolutely. I want to see how this develops, and there are quite a few surprises awaiting you in Seastone.
Which, of course, you're not going to tell me about.
They wouldn't be surprises if I told you about them.
By any chance, is the password melon?
How do you know that?
Stories repeat themselves. Do you not know that? Thanks for that unsettling conversation. I have to go.
Yes, you must. But we will see each other again soon.
You mean to say you will see me and follow my every move?
Yes, but I didn't mean that. You will seek me out before this story ends.
Really?
Yes, you will want to help a friend in need and won't know how to. That's when you will seek and find me.
Where will I find you?
In a flying town, in a house with no corners. Till then, Princess Ivo of the Woodland Realm.
But, oh. I know everything I need to know. Today's password is melon. When I use it at the border, the watch will have to let me pass. And by the time they find out they've been duped, I'll be in Seastone. Cheep Cheep does care. We do like tea. Hey, Cheep. Father's changed the sunflower seeds. Well, can you feel anything? Now, don't exaggerate. Okay, here. Oh, I hope it works. But what's he going to be like when he's super cheap? He's got enough of an exaggerated opinion of himself as it is. I wish there was something to indicate that the book was wrong, but unfortunately it's I'm pregnant, and I don't know how and I don't know why. I just know that I need to get out of here before Mother finds out. The Archmage in Seastone will know what to do. Oh, that's overdoing it a bit. It appears Cheep Cheep couldn't resist the temptation and has brought the hippogriff with him straight away. It appears Cheep... Hey, Cheep! Well done! Wait, I'm coming up. I thought you just wanted to deliver the pot of gold. You deserve it. It's really in there, is it? Our hippogriff? Why did the stud put it in there? Couldn't they have just let it fly back with you? You mean it was in the box already? You didn't actually see it? Huh, I'd love to have your trust. Oh well, at least it's pretty lively. It's really in there. Why? Huh. Cheap Cheap blind purchased the hippogriff. His trust in the Aculeus stud is far greater than his mistrust of humankind's capacity to deceive. Relax, I'm on it. You've still got the receipt, haven't you, Cheap? The little chap has enough strength to demolish a heavy wooden box. That's a pretty good sign. Cheap? Didn't the hippogriff in the magazine look a bit different to this? Bigger, a bit more griff and a bit less hippo? Is this the effect of the epidemic? Mother said it changed things. I think Cheap might get used to having superpowers. Hey, Cheap. Was something different in the human world? Was there any trace of this epidemic? And everything was normal at the stud, too? Intimidated? I wonder who they're scared of. I'll be back soon, Cheap. I think Cheap might get used to. The floor of the box has been covered with newspaper. I wonder how long the hippogriff had to cope with being in there. Cheap? Didn't the hippogriff in the Is this... You are strong enough, aren't you? You were able to demolish that box just now. Can you carry me as far as Seastone? Right then. The Archmage, murdered by Wilbur Weathervane? There's something strange afoot, Cheap. Mark my words. I don't believe a word of it. Someone's responsible for this epidemic and someone wants to hurt our friends. Away to Seastone.
My name is Weathervane, Professor Weathervane.
You want to teach us?
Well, yes. Why not?
You're a gnome! Gnomes can't do magic!
I can, and have. During my mage training, Yes?
My mother also says that you should not be a teacher. But I think you're great, Professor.
Oh, thank you.
Say, Professor, what exactly is the magic constant? How long must Veritaserum mature? What can you tell us about ancient magic runes?
How about you sit down properly first?
Nope.
Nope? That's no, Professor. Or, more properly, yes, Professor.
Nope means yes, Professor. That's going to cause some misunderstandings. So, the magic constant? Veritaserum? Ancient magic runes? We want to learn something.
I will answer all your questions, but not now. It's time for History of Magic.
Then I have a history question. As everyone knows, gnomes are completely incompetent when it comes to magic. To be exact, only one great gnome mage has appeared in the last 800 years. He defeated Gremar, the last of the great dragons. What was the name of that last great gnome mage?
He was called, sit down at your desk properly and don't ask stupid questions.
But don't they say there are no stupid questions, only stupid answers? And that there aren't supposed to be any bad students, only bad teachers?
Not right now. We will open your textbooks to page 100 and...
So I was right, wasn't I? You know nothing, not even the name of the only great mage your own people ever produced.
I just need a drink of water. Frog in my throat.
Ha!
Oh man, Master Marcus warned me that the students would test me the first few hours, but this is a nightmare. I don't know all of these things. I know nothing. Easy, boy, easy. Think, Wilbur, think. This is my contract, signed by the Archmage. I'm the first teacher in the School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, at least the first since the school reappeared. At first I didn't want to accept. I know almost nothing about magic. But Master Alistair said there are very few mages left, and I had completed mage training faster than anyone else. I was the right person for the job. I wanted to help and learn more about magic, so I agreed. Hopefully that was the right decision. I wouldn't want to disappoint Master Alistair. Master Marcus and the Archmage were so busy rebuilding the city that no one had the opportunity to teach me anything about teaching. This box was in a shop window down in the city. I thought it might be useful. After all, there are children with magic wands on it. But unfortunately, it just seems to be a bunch of those tricks, like that old one with Mr. Wupperman, the top hat and the rabbit. It can't be healthy in the long run for Friedlin to always eat parchment and old scrolls. Perhaps he'd like the pet food I bought. Master Marcus, and this box was but a short white rope, a pair of dice, playing cards, and a guide on how to lead people up the garden path. That's just not right. Real magic or none at all. It looked like this before I ever moved in. Generations of teachers must have left their stuff here. I like it. The school has a history, and when I have time, I'll rummage through it. A few of the crates and boxes are labelled. Hands off. Property of the half-blood prince. Schrödinger. That box could hold a dead cat. Or not. Mages use balls like this to communicate over long distances. Master Marcus explained it to me. He'll know how I can tame those unruly students. Mages use balls like... He'll know how I can tame... So, what was that number again? 64731?
Hello.
Ah! Oh, wrong number! Mages use ball. He'll know. Ah, my wand. The King of Thieves got it for me during my mage training. He and the other rats have been tirelessly helping to rebuild the city in recent months. They work closely with the Archmage, albeit mostly in secret. I still haven't figured out exactly how it works. Sometimes it performs the most amazing magic, sometimes it can't even perform the simplest of tasks. Archmage Alistair's promised to have a look at it sometime. Maybe it has a loose connection or something. I can't remember, Master Mark. I had it written in my notebook. My whole family stayed in the White Ridge Mountains. Why would they even want to come to Seastone? This isn't their world. Little Sydney can walk now and reach everything that's on the workbenches. That tripled her invention output. Meggie doesn't build battle robots anymore since the war is over. Now she's experimenting with computing machines. But Grandad says there's no future in it. The teddy is just, a keepsake and some moral support from home. Soft and cuddly moral support. This is Fridolin, my rabbit sheep. I had to cast a transformation spell during my mage training, and this is the result. I think we make a good team. A young mage and his rabbit sheep fighting side by side as a force for good. Unfortunately, Fridolin doesn't do much other than lay in bed and eat. I still have to convince him it's important. Well, buddy? What are you eating there? Hey, that's my notepad. I still need that notepad. It has Master Marcus's number. Well, buddy? What are you eating? Hey! These are the aviator goggles that my granddad gave me before my first trip to Seastone. Well, pair of aviator goggles. The original pair was lost when Grandad fired me out of the cannon. That's when I found out Grandad has a whole box of these goggles. Every time he tries to persuade some idiot to do something stupid, he makes a rousing speech and then hands over his old aviator goggles. A bowl of fresh, cool water for my roommate. A bowl of... There's no way I'm taking a bowl with me. I mean, how am I supposed to put a bowl of water into my pocket without getting my robe soaking wet? It's not like I can just carry anything around. But I could use the bowl here in the room. Do you want some water, Fridolin? He seems to be hungry more than anything. Okay, we'll do it like this. I'll give you some delicious pet food, and you give me my notebook back. Okay, buddy? All right, me first. Okay. Now give me my notebook, please. Hey, I thought we had a deal. The bed is pretty cozy. It's so cozy that Fridolin is curled up in it. But that's okay. Friends share. And he lets me sleep at the foot end. Earlier, innocent, but those days are gone. I'm a professor of magic and I have to solve my own problems. The bed is pretty cozy. It's so cozy that Fridolin is curled up in it. But that's okay. The entire school building is a bit scary. No one knows exactly where it was the last 20 years. It disappeared overnight and then reappeared just as suddenly once the war ended. There's a lot of magic in these old walls. The stove is always on, for example, and even though I've never put any wood in it, still need that notepad. Thought a few times about whether I should try to fully transform Fridolin into a sheep or back into a rabbit. But he seems to be quite happy the way he is, and I'm afraid that I might accidentally transform him into an elephant or a skunk or a dog. Do you want some water, Fridolin? He seems to be hungry more than anything. Maybe I can lure Fridolin away from my notepad. That's it. That's all there is. Hey, Fridolin, look! Food! All you have to do is hop over here and get it. Wow! My rabbit sheep has superpowers. But now the food is gone and Fridolin is still hungry. Ah, no wonder I didn't do it right. It says, space-saving instant dry food. Soak in water before feeding. Ah, crap. Fridolin's crazy about this stuff, and I've never even prepared it properly. Sometimes my wand works perfectly and sometimes less so. I don't... It wasn't easy to tell them I'm not an engineer but a mage instead. Mum said she'd always suspected it. How about some water to wash the food down? That's what I thought. Food was pretty dry, right? See how well I take care of you? Then maybe we could talk about my notebook. Oops. I'll read the instructions next time, promise. Sorry. The way he looks at the moment, he could give Bertram, the world's fattest hamster, a run for his money. He'll get back to normal. A short nap and he'll be right as rain.